welcome to Be Well TV Live. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited about today's interview. I have a special guest here today, my friend Chris Wezel, who is a loan officer with Movement Mortgage. He also has an extensive background in the hospitality industry, which is why we go way back. And right now, I want to welcome Chris. Chris, thanks for coming.
Thanks so much for having me.
I know you're super nervous.
Nah, that's fine. I'll be fine.
You're going to be fine because I've heard you talk before. So, Chris, the mortgage industry is kind of new territory for you. But I know you're very passionate about it. We've talked about it already, and that went on quite a while because you're so excited about being in this industry. So I want to talk about how the hospitality industry, your hospitality background, lends itself into this mortgage industry.
Yeah. Well, I guess over the last year, I know that, and you're probably aware of the housing boom and people wanting to buy homes and people refinancing because the rates are so low. And I've heard so many stories from friends and family and colleagues about their experience, the experience they had going through the mortgage process. And it seemed painful. They weren't getting any kind of service, and communication was lacking between them and their loan officer. So I was looking at that and thinking, this is something that could be done better. Like, I feel like it could be done better. So I started doing some research in what it took to become a loan officer. And real estate's always been interesting to me, but I never really saw myself as doing what I'm doing now. But I thought, if I can apply my 30 plus years of hospitality to this industry and give people a much better experience. It's a difficult time for them. Number one, trying to find a home now is difficult, so they're going through that stress. And then number two, when they go through the process of getting a mortgage, it's not really known for being the easiest or kindest process. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, and we were talking about earlier, about how a lot of times people form a really close relationship with their real estate agent, but rarely do they form any kind of close relationship with a mortgage lender, because there's just this image of like the stuffy banker.
Completely
and
right.
There's no personality, and you
Absolutely
just go into
right.
the closing room and that's it.
Yeah, you do. And it's overwhelming, especially for some first-time home buyers. They don't necessarily know what to expect. But I think there's a great opportunity to really apply the service that I've learned, the customer service skills that I've learned over the last 30 years. I was trained by Marriott and Ritz-Carlton training, and they do a terrific job of teaching you, all the different touch points and where you can apply service that's going to be exceptional. And I don't see any reason why somebody that has maybe had that experience with a realtor, it shouldn't stop there. It's a process when you buy a home. You go through the search process.
It's a process. It's an emotional process.
Exactly. It's a very emotional process. It's the biggest purchase that they're more than likely going to make. So I think extending that through the entire process, I thought, was a good opportunity. I also had to look at the resources I had and the skill sets that I have as far as sales and marketing, and apply those, and even choosing the right company to work with. There was a lot of strategy that went into that as well.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about that. Movement Mortgage is actually different from what people think traditionally of a traditional bank or mortgage lender. Tell me why you chose them.
Well, there was a lot of reasons. Number one, when I had researched many mortgage companies, and what I really did, there was a strategy to it. So what I really did was put who I felt my customers were going to be first, and thought about them, and then tried to match them to the right mortgage company, to the right lender. So, I looked at demographics and a lot of other information, but I know that hospitality people, which is my focus, so my focus is going to be, listen, hospitality has been an industry that has been so good to me over the last 30 years, and I love it, and I love all the contacts that I've made and the connections I've made, and that's the audience, if you want to call it a niche. I mean, I'll help anybody, with a purchase or a refi, but As far as a niche goes, I thought that was a really good opportunity. So I had to look at them and what their expectations would be from a service level. And even looking at Movement Mortgage is a very modern, they have a lot of modern technology. And I thought that that was an important thing to make the process a lot simpler, a lot easier. So there was a lot of thought that went into who I thought my audience would be. And then align that with the right company. Movement also has an incredible process that's very, very different, and this is another reason why I love them. A lot of people, when they apply for a mortgage, they kind of don't know where it's at. It's taken 30, 45 days, sometimes 60 days to get to the point of closing, and Movement does it different. They kind of turned everything upside down. So and this is why I think they're the number 7 mortgage lender in the country at this point. But they do the underwriting up front. So they aim to do 6 hours underwriting, 6-day processing, or 7-day processing and 1-day closing. So that's a span of only 10 days from the time you fill out an application.
Impressive.
It is. And they do that, I think, with 72% of their loans are ready to close, clear to close, within a 10-day period.
Wow.
So it's a lot different. Normally you go through an application process and then it goes to processing, then it goes to underwriting, and then, only then, do you know that your loan has been approved. We approve that in 6 hours. So it's a whole lot faster, and it takes a lot of the stress off people, wondering and waiting. We didn't hear yet. Did we get the mortgage? Did we get the mortgage? This really helps people, I think quite a bit. So that was a really big factor in this decision as well. And their application process is super simple. It's an online form. I went through the process even before I started, and just to see what the user experience would be. I was so impressed with how fast and how easy and clear everything was. It just was it really lends itself well to the level of service that I want to provide for people.
Yeah, that's very impressive. I've gone through many refinances and purchases that I know what a headache it can be. But in addition to all of that, I know now they're owned by a nonprofit organization, correct?
I don't believe they're owned by a nonprofit, but they are a company where they give, I think last year, 40% of their profits went back into communities. So
that's absolutely amazing.
It is amazing. It's incredible. And that gave me, I have chills now, but that gave me a good feeling about the company itself, the way that they're going to treat their customers, their employees, everybody involved in the process, even their relationships with realtors, because realtors are a big part of referring, lenders, and the co-marketing opportunities that they have with realtors and all these other things. They put thought into every aspect of it, and that was one of the reasons why I kind of went through. I call it my little service playbook, but I looked at every touch point that I would have with a customer, or my loan officer assistant, or my assistant would have. And looked where I can inject exceptional service that they're not used to getting. And my goal was to help. I need them to create a story. I want to leave every customer going and talking to their neighbors and saying, wow, you'll never believe this. I just had an experience. We just closed on a home or refinanced, and this was unbelievable. You'll never guess what this guy did. I need that kind of experience to take place with every single loan that I help with. So, yeah.
That's a great goal. So you talked about, obviously, how stressful it is when you purchase a home and the process of going through a mortgage. But right now, we all know the real estate industry is going nuts. It's difficult. It's very easy to sell a house right now, but buying a house is a different story. So there's just not a lot of movement.
Yep.
But the mortgage industry, even though it is related to real estate, kind of operates separately.
It does.
And there's a lot of refinance opportunities. So what's going on in the mortgage industry?
Yeah, I think as of about a year ago, or maybe a little bit more, the rates just dropped so drastically that it made sense for almost anybody to refinance. People were saving. I had one customer that I was talking to that their last refinance, which was January of last year, I think they're saving $1,300 a month on their mortgage.
Holy cow!
I mean, that's a big check. That's not a joke. So Right now, I would say that if your current mortgage is anywhere 4% or higher, it's absolutely worth looking into because the rates are still very low. They're on the rise, but they are still very, very low. And that's one of the other reasons why I chose Movement was because their rates are so competitive, and I felt very comfortable. They may not necessarily be the lowest; they're certainly nowhere near the highest. But their rates are extremely, comparable to many of the other lenders out there.
Well, and some people put a lot of time into shopping around, shopping lenders based on the rates,
Yeah.
and that's not really
No,
how the industry works.
It's not, and it shouldn't be. There is, and listen, if you can get a very comparable rate, and the rates are all very, very close. It's
Right.
not like somebody's going to be at 3% and somebody else is going to
Well,
be at
you might
4
be able
or
to
5%.
explain this. It's not really the mortgage broker that sets the rate.
No.
That's based on what's
Right,
happening in the country.
in the industry, exactly, and how the company's setting the rates, but they're all going to be competitive. No
Right.
company wants to miss out on an opportunity to lend either. But I think if you look at where things were a year ago to where they are now, there's still a lot of opportunity. Refis were crazy last year, absolutely insane. But they're still at a really high level. And people going through COVID, people needed to maybe tighten their belts a little bit or look for opportunities to save money on their monthly bills. And that was certainly one way that they could do that because it was a big enough difference to have a big enough impact. I always say, if you're going to refi because you're going to save $100 a month, it's not really worth it.
Right.
If you could save $500-$600 a month, that may be your grocery bill every year, or car payment every month rather.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I know that you can't answer this broadly for the entire world. So just answer for yourself.
Okay.
What do you prefer, a 15-year or a 30-year, or what type of mortgage do you like?
You know what? It's got to I've learned this. Every loan is different. Everybody's circumstances are different. So if it were me and I had the money, of course I would probably go with a 15. If I knew that I was going to stay in that home and I wanted to get it paid off quickly to pay less interest, it makes a lot of sense. But nowadays people are bounce around quite a bit. Even in the hospitality industry, we're kind of known for being moving around quite a bit. So it's hard to say. Every circumstance is different, and there are so many different loan programs. There's loan programs from as little as 3% down, first time home buyer programs. It's hard to say because everybody's circumstances are different.
I know.
There's a lot of loans that we do where somebody may have $10,000, $15,000 in credit card debt. And we can get them to the point where they can, as long as the equity's there, they can get to the point where they can pay those off. So they may be paying 25% interest on those credit cards. They could bring that down to 3% and still have a great loan-to-value ratio.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, and another thing that not everyone knows is you can write off mortgage interest.
Yeah, on your primary.
So
exactly.
if you can lower your interest rate on your credit cards or even buying a car or putting in a pool or something,
exactly.
when it's in your mortgage, then it becomes a write-off.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people with refis that are cashing out or they're partially cashing out and using that money towards home improvements or other needs that they may have, or even just I've heard stories about people that refinance simply to be able to pull money out, pull cash out, and to live through the year of last year, COVID year, because it was they needed money, they had to live somehow, and it made total sense for them.
I have actually heard financial gurus that are out there in the world say that it makes more sense to pull money out of your house right now because the rates are so low. That with inflation, you will actually lose money leaving the equity in your home versus taking it out and investing it elsewhere. Or whatever.
It definitely could happen.
Now,
Again,
dude, I am not a financial advisor. Do not
Neither
take
am I
my
necessarily
word for gospel.
to that extent.
Don't take money out and then go on vacation with it because that's not what
that's
I
probably
meant to
not
say.
what this is meant for. Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to be like free money. Let's buy a car. Let's buy this. Yeah. No, that's probably not a good idea.
I think a lot of people did that with stimulus money. I was in Vegas right after the stimulus checks came out, and I'm pretty sure that did stimulate a lot of Vegas.
Bet you it did, for sure.
Okay, so I personally am bombarded by ads, whether it's in the mail or on social media or whatever, with rates. Like, we have this rate, da 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 da. I know that it's not true, because once you dig in, the rate is dependent upon many different factors. However, how do you choose? How do you break through that clutter and determine who you should work with as a lender?
I think you look at a couple things. First of all, you have to look at what your overall goal is, your financial goal is. You know, you have to know, is this a home I'm going to stay in for a while, or am I going to sell it quickly? You have to look at your whole financial picture. A mortgage shouldn't be something that you're only taking into consideration the rate and the monthly payment only. You really have to look at your whole scenario, and that's another thing I like. My market leader was talking about that. That, you know, it is a whole financial picture, and it should be something that you take everything, all the parts of your current financial situation into consideration, whether you're refinancing or purchasing, and you have to feel comfortable. You know, that a lot of times, you know, we will say, well, what monthly payment are you comfortable with? Because we don't ever want to put somebody in something that they're not comfortable with, or try to push the envelope further than they can afford, or than they should afford. But I think it's important that part of our process is a consultation. It shouldn't just be, hey, what are your rates, and here you go, and this is what we can do. We ask a lot of other questions that will help somebody overall, as opposed to that. So, and looking at service, I think, is an important part of it too. And that's really my push personally, is to provide people with just exceptional service where they're going to have a good experience throughout the whole process.
Well, I think it's important to be able to have a conversation with your lender, because so much of our reality in life now has become transactional over the computer, and
it sure has.
It's very easy to go to xyz.com mortgage lender and fill out the form, and you may never speak to a human being.
I was just going to say that. So when there's something that's required of you, a document, or you need something, when you call those online lenders, you're not getting the same person you might have spoken to 20 minutes ago. You're getting somebody else. So now they have to learn your file and understand what's going on with your loan. When you stay with one individual, you have one contact that's helping you the entire way. You both know the story, right? You're both involved in the story. You're communicating that well. And I think it brings people a level of comfort. You know?
Well, having a lender that gets to know you just puts you in a better position, because, like you said, there are so many different kinds of loans that exist. If you know me and you know my situation, you're going to be able to make better recommendations even 3 years from now, when this loan is when the situation changes. I think there's a lot of value
or anything
to that.
else.
So for those of you in Orlando that are in the hospitality industry, you can get to know Chris if you don't already. I know so many people already do.
We've made a lot of contacts here, and I love that. You know, that's a really exciting part for me, honestly, Heidi, is working with, you know, all the people that I've been able to connect with over the last 20 years of being in Florida. I was in New York before that, but I've worked with them on a business level. So it's always been kind of a B2B sort of thing, you know. So I'm helping them with their business, and I'm happy to do that. I love that. But this, I feel like I'm helping now consumers or hospitality professionals on a little bit more of a personal level. That makes me feel good. Like,
which means you're going to now invite them over to dinner at your
exactly,
house.
Exactly.
Doors open, come on in, we're friends.
You're exactly right. I mean, I feel like I can deepen the connections I already have by helping people on a personal level. And I couldn't think of a better audience to work with than hospitality people. And the other thing is, I also know how they work. I know how they operate. I know, especially hotel sales and marketing folks, how their commission makes a difference, how they're bonused. All of that comes into play when you're doing a mortgage. So I feel like that knowledge, that understanding of all of that will help them to make sure that we're finding the right product for them, and everything is exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah.
and make the process easier. There are a lot of brokers that may not understand how, a bonus works or at a hotel or something else. And they don't, can we count this as part of their income or can't we count this? Like those types of things, I think, make the process simpler.
Right.
Make it
Well, a
easier.
lot of lenders don't understand the situation that people in hospitality have been in over the last
Very
year.
true. Yeah.
Which, with mortgages with refinances being so popular right now and real estate in general, and the situation that we had in 2020 with so many people being laid off, there's like, it's kind of like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
And having some inside knowledge and understanding of that, I think is really helpful.
Even, it doesn't cost anything to talk to a mortgage broker. It doesn't even cost anything to fill out an application, just to see what your scenario could be. So if somebody goes and they fill out an application, it's easy for me to give them a much better picture financially of what either their refi is going to be and how it's going to affect their other expenses, or how expensive a home is going to be. It just makes the process a lot easier. I always recommend, I get calls all the time, what are your rates, what are your rates, what are your rates? And they vary. They're based on credit score, they're based on loans
Sure.
to value, they're based on a lot of different factors.
They change based on the day.
And exactly, as a matter of fact, I just got an email a few minutes ago that the rates just dropped by tiny, but they do change, throughout. They could change throughout the day. So that's really the easiest way. And the way I look at it is, it's almost like, how they have I forget the brand, the insurance company, but just give us 10 minutes and we'll save you up to whatever on your car insurance. It's kind of the same thing. If you take a few minutes to fill out our Easy app, I'm not making a plug there, I'm just saying if you fill it out, then I can give you a much better idea of exactly what your closing costs are going to be, what your exact rate's going to be, what your monthly payments are going to be. So that's what I've recommended to many people, and already seeing a lot of activity in that way.
So who, in your opinion, is the first call? A real estate agent or a mortgage lender?
Real estate agents they're usually the ones that are referring a mortgage or a lender. So people, hey, let's start looking for a home. The realtor will always recommend, especially in this market, that they come with a pre-approval or a pre-approval letter, because it's kind of a seller's market right now. So I'm seeing, I can't even believe, but 30, 40, I saw one that was $55,000 over the asking price is what they came in at, over what the list price was. I mean, that's, to me, is crazy. But it's a seller's market, and a lot of people moving here from other parts of the country. So I think the realtor typically will come first. They'll contact a realtor and say, hey, we saw that sign on this house and we love the outside. We really want to see the inside. And I think that's, in many cases, how that process starts. Or they find a house online, they contact a realtor, and then the realtor will recommend a lender that they like to do business with. And that's a very important relationship too. It is something where you kind of got to be Johnny on the spot. I mean, they could be at a home on a Saturday looking, with their buyers looking at a home, and they want to put an offer in immediately because houses go. One open house one day, they could have 7 offers in the first 3 hours. So you got to be Johnny on the spot and be able to get that approval or that pre-approval letter to them very, very quickly.
Right.
But it's an important part, because a realtor appreciates. That's why realtors like us as well, is because they appreciate not only the speed of that, but how our process is a lot quicker. So if everybody's anxious to get the deal done and close, we're a great option for that because of the other process, the way that we process the loans.
Well, and I would like to say that as much as it is very common that someone would find the real estate agent first, it's also advantageous to have the relationship with the mortgage lender, so that you do have that pre-approval ahead of time. And then, of course, if you can form a relationship, it's not uncommon to refinance or buy something new every 3 years or so.
Or just from referrals from customers. That's another big part of it. The way it should be looked at is, it's a team of people, right? So you have the buyer, you have the realtor, and then you have the lender. Those three should constantly, throughout that entire process, should be communicating with one another at every milestone, even if there's challenges along the way, no matter what it is. I look at it like that should be a team environment. Communication is critical. And you need those three to get the job done.
Yeah.
And if everybody's on board and on the same, we're all on the same path and we're moving along that path together, it's going to be a successful experience.
Great.
So.
Well, I want the viewers at home that are at least in the Orlando area to know that Chris will still make an appearance frequently.
Yes, I will.
At
I promise.
some live events now that they're coming back.
Yep.
So you will see him at some of the events that you probably have on your calendar. But for those of you that are not in the area, Chris, how does someone find you?
Many ways, but if the easiest way is just to go to, I have my personal website, which is movement.com/chris.wezel. That's the easiest way. Or you can email me at chris.wezel@movement.com. You can text me. My phone number is 321-303-9195.
Oh, God only knows what's going to happen now.
I know. Believe me, I don't mind. Whatever's most convenient, whatever the most convenient way. But I encourage people to go to the website. There's some really cool tools on there and, mortgage calculators and other information, some great information, especially for first-time buyers, where they can get a lot of knowledge from that as well. So it's
And we'll make sure to share all of those links.
Yeah, please. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Well, thanks for being here,
Thank you,
Chris.
Heidi. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you being here. This was kind of a pleasant surprise.
I know. This came up very, very quickly. But I'm really grateful for the opportunity. I really am.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Chris, you be well. For the viewers at home, thank you so much for being with us again. Take care. Be well.